cutlets because they're cheaper than lovely legs.
Okie dokie.
This is how you save money.
Yeah, I just kind of put down the thing I remembered.
That's fine.
Alright. We're officially live. Hey Luca. How's it going, mate? Another night. Yeah, annoying is how they are. But, you know, I will survive. Come along. Fortunately, I'm over the worst of the minor concussion that I had, which is good. Yeah. Getting updates. No, why am I doing that? How are you doing? 437 subscribers. Yes. What?
They've got the ice cream for $5 a container.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a buy more, save more offer showing. Which is 5 for $40.
Fair enough. Interesting deal. Hallelujah. Of course, I just dropped all my handsanding gear on the ground. Except my handsanding ruler.
Do you need carrots?
Carrots? No. Yes. Yes, we do.
You don't sound very carrots.
We do. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain lag there for a second. Couldn't remember if we did or we didn't. Damascus pattern, lots of stack twists, and then a feather pattern with a stack. I was wondering if you thought it would go. I'm not sure how a feather pattern twist would go. If I'm being totally honest, you'd have to give it a shot, I suppose. Yeah, no, buggered if I know. Best person to ask would be Bruce Barnett. He'll be at the meetup if you want to ask him then. That man is a master of feather pattern. Hey Zigwan, how you going, mate? I'm not too bad. If you wonder why I'm looking down that way, it's because it's actually easier for me to watch the stream at the same time as streaming so that I can see the comments, and they don't disappear on the computer, whereas they do on the camera, on the phone. So I'll kind of be switching between the two. Split it down to the side of the twists. I mean, you could give it a shot. The thing about twist pattern is that it's specifically that one of the great things about twist pattern Damascus is that if you cut a third of the way into the billet, you get that kind of star pattern, which I'm not sure how doing a feather through that would change it. It'd be an interesting experiment, at least. I'd want a press, at least, or a power hammer, in order to pull that off, because you normally need quite large things. I know Green Beetle recently did a video on making feather pattern Damascus. 2 seconds. You want to see that?
Yeah.
We also need one that here.
Okay.
Sorry guys, you need my nightly tea. Sorry, Luca. Missed all that. Grinder of the corn. Twist bar and then cut that into build the leg. Yeah, okay. Actually, you don't have to grind away the corners. The thing is that if you watch Alex Steele's most recent video, actually, is Viking Sword episode 2. He does a multi-layer, multi-twist bar billet, and basically, as long as you round your bar before you twist and then square it at forge welding temperatures, you can normally forge weld the ridges back into themselves, which means that you lose a lot less material than if you grind off all the corners. Well, you've got all the information I've got then. Unfortunately, I'm not really a Damascus expert. I've done 2 billets. 3. 4. 4 billets. 4 billets of Damascus.
Congratulations, you can count.
Yes, I can count after a while. Well, yeah, his piloting makes it a lot easier. But it's not so much the style forging that you're going after, it's the techniques used. I mean, I've seen a lot of complaints about people watching, guys with power hammers and presses and stuff, making these huge things and stuff like that, but I find those kinds of videos just as instructional as videos where it's all done by hand. Mainly because a lot of the time you can find, you'll take a technique from that channel, whatever it is, and you can then transpose that into hand hammering. If you're experienced enough with a hand hammer, you can normally, kind of take what they do on a large section with a huge hammer and make it on a smaller section with a hand hammer. And that's basically what Green Beetle did with his feather pattern Damascus, was that he just took the same principle that you use under a hydraulic press and did it by hand on a much smaller scale. And that's basically all you got to do, is you just take those. I like watching Torbjorn Armin and his videos. Yeah. The Falchion was awesome. I loved that series. It's funny, I've not really been a massive fan of Alex. Probably post his move to the big workshop, a lot of his stuff started becoming a little bit too much entertainment based, not enough technique based. But now that he's taken that swing back towards historical examples, and he's like really taking an interest in the design and the weight techniques and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things where I prefer the technical aspect of blacksmithing. I prefer the historical recreation of blacksmithing, hence daggers. But he was obviously doing the entertainment thing. Now that he's moving back towards the other thing, I'm actually more inclined to watch him. So I'm actually watching a lot more of his stuff. Well, yeah, that was the point I'm making, is that he's back into the historical stuff. So I'm really happy with that. Learning the technique of tapers. Tapers is the most basic thing you should learn. It should be the first thing you do before you do forge welding, before you do bladesmithing, anything like that. You should learn your basic blacksmithing, which is set downs, tapers, and scrolls. Set downs, tapers, and scrolls should be absolutely necessary to learn. This is coming from a guy who started off by forging a blade, the first thing I ever forged. But looking at it now, I desperately wish that I had started with basic blacksmithing skills. And that's why I make my bottle openers, is because in bottle openers you're required to do both set downs, tapers, and scrolls. A set down is basically using either the edge of an anvil or a hardy tool to create a step in your work. So if you say had this piece, if I put that on the edge of the anvil there and smack half on half off, I'm going to create a step effect in the steel, and that's a set down. So you're setting down the material. If you've watched a lot of, like a leaf. The leaf involves doing a set down. You have to do a far edge set down, and then a near edge set down to start the stalk. If you're watching Alex Steele's video, you see him do a lot of set downs for various reasons. It's also a very important technique for making tongs, which is something that everyone should do. Yeah, well, I mean, you got to remember that the majority of his audience aren't blacksmiths. They're not metallurgically inclined. They're not historically inclined. They're not, even mildly interested in the technical aspects of blacksmithing. The majority of his audience are 12 to 18-year-old kids who watch lots of video games and think that they're the know-all on every subject. Because they relate to him. He's young, he's bouncy, and all that kind of stuff. So... yeah, he's easily relatable, and so it's an easy way to get the craft across to people who may not be interested in the overall technical aspect of forging. With the Canyon Forger meteorite, I mean, anyone who's metallurgically inclined will tell you that we know you can't. Most meteorites have way too much nickel, way too much sulfur, way too much phosphorus, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, he wants to make an entertaining video, so therefore he has to do crazy stuff. It's like Man-at-Arms. I mean, I don't particularly like a lot of the stuff that Man-at-Arms do. I love their historical recreational builds. But, you know, all of the ridiculously large swords and all that kind of stuff that they make at a train track, it's just not a practical aspect of blacksmithing. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is, which is a serious amount of skill in use of a giant power hammer. But at the end of the day, you're talking about something that is impractical to use, almost impossible to lift. You know, it's just, yeah, that kind of stuff gets on my nerves, but that's because I am a bladesmith who practices the art of creating functional tools. From a layman's perspective, it's awesome. The Ulfbert, it's BEHR*T. But yeah, so the Ulfbert build was a perfect example. My favorite video of theirs of all time is the Kill Bill Katana, the first video that they made Bloomery Steel in, purely because it was that step forward for them into the historical builds. Like, they've done a lot of historical builds since then, but that first step was my favorite because it started the whole journey for them. And I really enjoyed listening to Ilya talk about Kokoro, which is the heart and mind. Which, if you haven't watched that episode, please watch it. It's a really cool aspect of it. I really like the idea of all items, all things containing a spirit or kami. You know, I'm not a Shinto practitioner or anything like that, but at the same time, I really enjoy that aspect of the Shinto religion. So yeah, just for that speech by Ilya, that is my favorite Man-at-Arms episode. Call me sentimental. Yes. At some point, my father and I will get together and make that Da Vinci pattern hammer. When that will be, I have no idea, because unfortunately, my father and I work on very different schedules. And my dad is a hobbyist, so he tends to do things when they take his fancy. So it could be next week, it could be next year. It will happen, but yeah, until I've got his expertise on my side, I'm not really confident in trying it myself. You know, obviously I have an issue with hammers, especially large ones. So yeah, I'll leave it until I've got the expert opinion. So yeah, it might not be for a fair few months yet. I've got a lot of stuff coming up, so I'm going to be really busy for the next, well, at least the next month. How's it going, Carl? Yes, it's hammer time. Well, actually, no, it's not hammer time. It's hand sanding time. Lots and lots and lots of hand sanding. I'm doing the first bevel of 4 from a 120 grit belt finish to a 180 grit hand sanded finish. This is my least favorite part of bladesmithing. I think it's most bladesmiths' least favorite part. Like, you ask any bladesmith, like, you ask Alex Steele why he got an intern. What's the first job he gives Alex to do? Hand sanding. It is the bane of bladesmiths' existences. And this is why a lot of bladesmiths these days do grinder finishes, because it's really easy. I'm not going to spoil it. So, tomorrow's video will be, tomorrow's video will be covering me starting the handle and pommel and stuff like that. I have started it. Basically, it's a traditional Basilard build. There's slight variations in the main pattern, but it's basically a standard Basilard. He wants to be fairly close to historical patterns, but he also wanted to make a few changes. Bicycle power. I have never seen the bicycle power hammer. I don't know what the bicycle power hammer is. It sounds interesting. It also sounds scary. I really wouldn't mind making a wheel drive power hammer. So, the scrap hammer that the ABS put a PDF out about. I wouldn't mind making that, but that's a lot of engineering and stuff that I just do not know how to do. I am not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination. It is by working with nature. You are? Okay, I'm not sure I'm working with nature?
Yep. 2017, updated in 2018.
Bicycle power hammer?
Yep, done.
Yeah? Working with nature?
Yeah, YouTube channel.
Oh, okay, Working with Nature is the channel. Okay, cool. Sorry, I was, totally confused there for a minute. I was like, how is a bicycle power hammer working with nature? That's...
Obviously, I'm the one with the brains.
It's an industrial concept. A treadle hammer. Yeah, I did think about a treadle hammer. I just don't have the height in my workshop to get a decent amount of weight behind the hammer for it to be useful. And I don't want a long treadle hammer. I'd prefer a thinner one. If you watch Black Bear Forge, he has a really cool treadle hammer that I'd really like to recreate. But again, I just don't have the space.
There's a small one here. I'll get that paper chart.
My wife is in the background doing research for me as you guys shout stuff out.
Grocery shopping will be here between 5 and 8 tomorrow night, and all the stuff you need the blacksmith makes in it.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we're hosting the Perth Knife Makers Meet. Jake Mantell, who originally started it, handed the reins off to me when he moved out to South Australia, so I, with the help of my wonderful wife and Buck Van Zyl, we've been organising that, which is Saturday. Which is scary as hell, because I don't think I'm going to have this done. There aren't enough hours in the day. What days in the week? Cool. That'll be a cool project. Props to your metalwork teacher for allowing that one to go ahead. Who did it? What am I looking at? Okay. Fair enough. Hey, Anthony. How you doing, man? The head is it's still on my shoulders. I mean, it's still attached. It's slightly more holy than it used to be. But yeah, no, it's fine. I've got over the worst of it now. So. Oh, almost forgot. Alright. Yeah, 6 people watching. Hello. Thank you for coming to watch me drink tea. This is the channel. Just me drinking tea. I guarantee people are gonna leave after I said that. Whew. How are you doing, Anthony? Have you managed to get any time out in the workshop, mate? Made any knives recently? Yeah, well, better than you lucky than unlucky. I mean, these kinds of things happen. And it's not something that's widely publicized, which is interesting, that blacksmiths tend to get smacked in the head by hammers. But it actually does happen quite commonly. I've spoken to a number of blacksmiths since the incident that have gone, yeah, I remember like 2 weeks ago I smacked myself in the head with a 4-pound sledge. Rebound is a bad mother and doesn't really like to give you a break. Yes, it would have hit me if it was mild steel. Oh, nice. Working on small glasses. Yeah, if it was mild steel, it would have hit me. It's the thing is, I'm using a cast iron anvil. It's dead soft, like softer than mild steel, and it still hit me. I was striking really hard, and I was just the wrong angle. What I said in my video about it not rebounding as much. If it had been... My dog is acting like a retard. If it had been a tool steel anvil, it would have just taken my head off. Rather than giving me this little love tap, I would have been a very, very dead blacksmith. There are ways you can mitigate getting smacked in the head. Swinging a short handle sledge, choking up on your sledge, working on at a slightly higher angle. Yeah, there's a few things you can do. And normally I practice safe sledge, but I just made a... What's the deal with what anvils are made from? How come cast steels are good? How do they harden? Do you mean how hard do they harden? So basically, there are basically three different schools of anvil. There is the cast steel anvil, which most modern anvils are. You have your cast iron anvils, which are the low-end, cheap Chinese ones that you buy from like Hare and Forbes, and that kind of thing. And then there are the wrought anvils, which are mostly much older anvils, but they tend to have a wrought iron body and a tool steel face. Most cast steel anvils are differentially hardened. So basically, they're cast out of whatever alloy of steel they are cast out of. So my O'Dwyer, for instance, is cast out of 4140. And then they are heated and quenched just like anything else, but they're heated in such a way that only the face and sometimes the horn get hardened. I think mine is hardened horn. Some of them just through harden. They just plunge the whole thing in and just harden the whole thing. It doesn't really make a difference, to be honest. But yeah, so most anvils these days are cast steel anvils because it's the easiest way to make an anvil. It's the easiest way to make a good working anvil. Wrought anvils tend to take a lot longer to make because you've got to forge the body and then you've got to forge weld the face to the body. All good, Anthony. Cheers for stopping by, mate. Yeah, so... Yeah, horns do break off occasionally if you work them too hard. Especially on the cast iron anvils. They tended to break off quite easily. Especially if they were thin horns. And the other thing you've got to remember is that in wrought anvils, so wrought anvils being wrought iron anvils or wrought mild steel anvils with tool steel faces, most of the wrought anvils are wrought iron. Wrought iron is incredibly slag included. It's got horrible slag inclusions, which means that it's really easy to fracture, funnily enough. Even though it's really ductile, it's also really easy to fracture. And you'll see that in tomorrow's video, unfortunately. But yeah, wrought iron is incredibly easy and it's incredibly fractious. And horns on wrought anvils don't have hardenable surfaces. They are all wrought iron. The horn is forged as part of the main body. Or sometimes it's forge welded on after the body is forged, and then the tool steel face is welded on after that. But yeah, for the most part, wrought anvils have wrought iron horns. And that would also attribute to why the horn broke off, is because it was forge welded on. If it was a cast anvil, then it could be that it was through hardened and there was a microfracture in the steel somewhere from the casting process. You'd have to do a bit of research. Just look up BK Sydney's. There's bound to be endless amounts of information on that specific type of anvil online. I imagine it'll depend on what year it was made, because most wrought iron anvils were made pre-1960-ish. They kind of went out of production after that, because cast steel anvils were becoming a lot easier to make. So, yeah, don't be surprised. You can also have a cast steel anvil with a tool steel face. I have seen that happen. Cast mild steel with a tool steel forge welded face has been known to happen. Just trying to think. Because most of the quote-unquote best brands... Alright, cool. But yeah, so most of the best brands, like House and stuff like that, they're all cast. And they're just hardened to a certain specification. Whatever the specification that specific maker is looking for. I do occasionally, yeah. The bending forks. Obviously, I don't really have call to use them very often, but when I'm straightening a tong handle or if I'm working a large scroll, they're actually incredibly useful. It means I didn't have to invest in making a bending fork for my hardy hole yet. Well, to be honest, the camera really doesn't pick it up too well, especially with the low quality. But basically, this is only a 180 grit. This is a really rough grit for blade finishing. But basically, what I'm looking for is I've got horizontal grind lines on the blade from the grinder, and I'm getting to the point where it's almost done, this specific bevel. But I can see just one or two tiny scratches, and the quality of the quality of your work is a reflection upon yourself. So, if you're happy with sending something out into the world that is lower quality than say your eyes can tell, so if you can see scratches on the blade, if the fit up isn't proper, all that kind of stuff, that's a reflection on your attitude as a businessman. So either you're going to be happy with having a reputation as being the person who cuts corners and sends out something crap into the world, or you're going to have the reputation of someone who takes their time and invests their pride and their talent, their craftsmanship into their work. And I want to be the latter rather than the former. So unfortunately, this bevel is probably going to take me another 20 minutes. And then I'll go on to the second bevel, and then the third bevel, and then the fourth bevel. My sandpaper supplier is Bunnings, unfortunately. If I had money, which I don't, I would have invested in some Rhino Wet sandpaper because I can't stop hearing about the stuff. It is everywhere. I have heard about it from the guys in the States. I've heard about it from the guys here in Australia. I imagine that if it's this good, if everyone's talking about it, then it's definitely worth the price. Every Bunnings that I've gone to has had 180, 240, 360, 400, 600, 800, 1200 grit wet and dries. They're just in the sandpaper aisle in your painting section. Pretty much every store I've been to has got 180 at least, wet and dry. I've even seen 60 grit at some places, but at least my local Bunnings has those selections that I just named. 180, 240, 360, 400, 600, 800, 1200. It doesn't quite go as high as I'd like, and that's why I go to Abrasiflex. And Abrasiflex are custom belt makers for they make abrasives for belt grinders as well, but they also sell hand abrasives up to 2000 grit, which is what I like to go to for my Hamones. So it all depends on what finish I'm going for. This specific dagger, the customer requested a 600 grit satin, or 400 grit satin is more likely. So that's what I'm aiming for, is 400 grit satin. This silicon carbide stuff that you get from... I'm glad you understand the ethic, Carl. I didn't think you didn't. It's just explaining my thought process. That's the way I kind of approach things. Unfortunately, when you're that kind of person, you tend to never be happy with. I never tend to be happy with the finish. You're always a little bit more niggly. Alex sometimes uses an abrasive wheel. So Alec uses a Scotch-Brite wheel, Scotch-Brite pad Scotch-Brite wheel on a buffer. And I have looked at those, and I don't like them. I was about to say I hate them. It's not true. I appreciate them for what they are. They're really useful for tool faces. They're really useful for polishing corners and stuff like that. But as a bladesmith, I can't stand Scotch-Brite finishes. They really get my back up. They are really splotchy. That's it, Carl. That's it. There's always that one thing. Ugh, hate it. With mine, there's normally like 10 things. But yeah. No, Scotch-Brite wheels are I really don't like them. But fortunately, Alex steered away from using Scotch-Brite wheels now. He goes up to a 400 grit equivalent Trizact belt, and then he hand sands. Which is exactly what I would do if I had all the belts going up to a 400 grit Trizact. Unfortunately, I don't have the money for that. I go 60, 120, hand sand. I do have some 600 grit corks, but they don't tend to remove the 120 so well. I did actually run this over the cork belt just briefly to try and knock the surface down just a little bit to help me out, but it didn't really do much. Still a lot of 120 grit scratches in there, but that's okay. We'll just keep sanding. As far as why I don't like Scotch-Brite wheels, I should probably explain myself a little bit. The reason I don't like Scotch-Brite wheels is because they wash everything out. One of the things I look for in a custom knife, as much as a production knife, is cleanliness, is crispness. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the king of crisp. I'm terrible. My hand sanding is not really the greatest. But the thing is that my hand sanding is an attempt to be clean. There's an attempt to keep the lines crisp. When you run anything under a Scotch-Brite wheel, you're immediately just, blurring it all to hell. And you can always tell when a sword's been run over a Scotch-Brite wheel, or the Topeka ones you see and all that kind of stuff, because they've got rounded ridges and rounded edges and rounded everything. Everything looks like it's kind of been run through a 480 bit megapixel camera, so it all looks blurry. It's not nice. As far as my wife's reaction to the injury, you'd have to ask her. I'm pretty sure it was a lot of eye rolling.
Yep.
Yes, it was a lot of eye rolling. For the record, it's not the first time I've injured myself. It's probably the worst injury I've ever given myself, but at the end of the day, it's definitely not the worst.
There was a lot less blood than some others by the time I got there.
Yeah, I wasn't bleeding half as bad as the last time that I injured myself. I've injured myself quite a few times. Not normally with hammers. The blood wasn't the most interesting thing about the hammer injury, actually, to be honest. It was more the blunt force trauma aspect of the hammer hit that kind of got my back up. I can stand a little bit of blood. I can stand being cut, but smacked me in the head with something heavy, and I'm immediately worried about brain damage. Funnily enough, I do have brains to injure, or at least I'm told so by my mum. My mom thinks I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
Not sharp yet, but it's getting there.
What's Budding's sandpaper price per sheet?
99 cents.
Then that's comparative.
Price comparative, runaway. Sweet.
You just got to buy in bulk.
Yeah.
That's going to be the downside.
Well, yeah, it's having the cost outlay.
But that's comparable pricing, really.
Yeah, I've heard that it's comparable.
There's like a cent in it.
Yeah, I've heard it's comparable. It's more the fact that, you're talking about, like bulk orders.
It's 50 sheets at a time.
Yeah, so I normally buy like 7 sheets.
Yeah.
But honestly, if we could get the 180, 240, 400, 600, 800 grits, and 1200, 50 packs of each, then I'd probably be set for a good few months. But that's quite a bit of money.
You think?
Which is why I haven't really approached the problem. Been sitting with my shitty silicon carbide instead. Did I get him? Nope. I didn't get the sky resin shadow.
Yeah, that got everything up to the 1200.
Sweet. Yeah, Rhino Wet in Australia is actually set up here in Perth. Funnily enough, the manufacturers of Rhino Wet, the Gamaco, the Rhino Wet they sell, they actually import from WA. So
They've got plus line wet dry in 2000.
cool.
They're half sheets and slightly more expensive.
Yeah.
But because they're half sheets, it's less of an outlay.
Yeah, the 2000 grit's always expensive. The Abrasiflex 2000 grit was pretty expensive.
Well, look, these are half sheets.
Yep.
And they're like $5 over half the price for the same amount of sheets, but they're half.
Okay.
So that's really not a huge difference.
That's pretty good.
It's not the red line though.
Nah. No, you won't get red line up to that grit, I don't think.
They've got the 1500 and the 2000 in the plus line.
Cool. Well, 2000 is normally the highest I go to. I have no idea where Alex Steele got his 3000 grit sandpaper, but, you know, power to him. Once I get past 2000, I'm kind of like, ugh, this is terrible. Can't tell the difference. You get like 3 strokes out of it before it's dull. I mean, that being said, this silicon carbide stuff isn't much better. I don't get very long out of a piece of silicon carbide. I'm definitely not going to get this finished by Saturday. Not a hope in hell. Oh well, I have those spares. My go-to hammer. I actually have a set of 3 go-to hammers. I don't really have one. I did have one for quite a long time, back when I first started, just because I just didn't have any other hammers, which was a 3-pound crossbeam, and that's still in my lineup. But yeah, basically I have a 2.5 pound rounding hammer that I made myself. I have a 3-pound crossbeam and a 2.5 pound ball peen. Then I've dressed the faces slightly differently to give me a different aesthetic. But those are my 3 main go-to hammers. And you'll have seen all of them in my YouTube videos. I do have a lot of other hammers as well. Yes, I will, one day. The thing is that the class that I'm... Are you saying will I ever run a hammer class or take a hammer class? Like take a hammer making class somewhere? just for everyone in the chat, you can't answer yes or no to any of my questions because there's a significant delay between when you get the question and when I get the answer. So I'm not sure which question I'm answering. So run a class. Yes, I will eventually run a hammer making class. How's it going, Liam? How you doing?
Apparently, Autobahn do a 3,000 grit sandpaper.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. They're a automobile finisher. But anyway, yeah. So yes, I will run a hammer class one day. The classes I'm set to run in the next month or two will mostly be intro to blacksmithing. The main reason for that is not so much that I don't have the skill to teach, it's that I don't have the space to put a grinder or, you know, any of the other significant tools that I need. So until I have a warehouse space of my own that I can set up my workshop in, I won't be running any serious classes like bladesmithing or hammer making or tool making in general, because we won't have access to a grinder. So everything I have to do on site has to be done purely by forge, hammer, and anvil. That's all we got. So anything that I'm going to be teaching in the near future, is going to be hand forged to completion. I've got 3 class projects set up so far. Well, I mean, this is the thing, is that I'm the main reason I want to start doing classes is not so much so I can teach people the advanced stuff that they could probably learn from Bruce Barnett in a much better way, and much better place. It's to teach the basics, the stuff that helps you develop your skills, and if people even like myself could benefit from. Yeah, Liam's got it. But we were just talking about it. Autobahn sell up to 3,000 grit wet and dry sandpaper. Automotive detailers will sell high grit sandpapers because they use them for automotive detailing, funnily enough. For sanding car bodies and stuff like that, prepping for paint, and sanding lacquers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, auto repair shops.
Or you can find it on eBay.
Or eBay, yeah. I bought a crap load off eBay for like 80 cents a sheet. It's crap. It's absolute shit. And I wouldn't suggest it if you have another option. But yeah, I have bought sandpaper off eBay before. Please tell me that's the end. That is the end, my friend. Thank fuck for that. Now we start the other level.
So we're looking for Australian suppliers?
For
Sandpaper?
Rhino Wet?
Not Rhino Wet.
No.
But the Sandpaper Man carries wet and dry sheets up to 7,000.
Wow.
Online, thesandpaperman.com.au.
There you go, guys. Thesandpaperman.com.au sells wet and dry sandpaper up to 7,000 grit. So I think you'll find everything you need there. Yes, I've seen that too. There's Shoerap is the YouTube channel. And I've seen that invention, and I think it's cheating. It's terrible. So I'm in Perth. I'm in Perth, WA. Perth, Western Australia. I know that finding a blacksmithing class is really difficult. Yes, that was my stepson at the last video. Oh, not the last video, because my last videos. I've had a number of videos since then, but yes, I've had a number of videos. Hey, Dustin, how you doing, man? Well, you know, welcome to the world of the living. It's currently, what is it? 7:30 at 8:30 at night. 8:30 at night. Over here. But yes, my stepson was in the, my stepson was in the rapier guard fitting video. 5:36 in the morning. Jesus Christ, man. What are you doing up at this hour? You gotta work? I hope you have to work, because if you're up by choice, I'm not sure about your sanity.
Screw you too.
You get up for work.
I get up on weekends at the same time.
Yeah, well, okay, you're still crazy, but, you know, you're my wife. That makes sense. Cheers, Carl. Thanks, mate. I'm glad you're enjoying my videos. That was kind of the whole point, is to teach people a little bit and entertain people as well, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm glad you're watching. Thanks. Keep commenting, keep liking, keep, you know, sending it out there, sharing with your friends. It's great to have a member of the family. Cheers. Work starts in a few hours. Oh, okay. Ugh. Wake up time and coffee. Sounds good. With a delay on the video. I've watched all my uploads. I haven't noticed a delay. Could have been the camera. Could have been the... because I was filming on my phone. There could have been a bit of a delay. Let me just... You're getting a delay right now? No, don't want to cast that to the TV. No, I don't want to cast it to the TV. Go away. Alright, so, yeah, there's no delay on it right now. Could have been a delay through the camera. I haven't checked. Yeah, that would have been him as well. Yeah, he normally says hi. It's a habit of his to say hi whenever he sees anyone. No matter how many times he's said hi in the last 5 minutes, he will still say hi. When you leave a room for 5 minutes, he'll come back in, he'll say hi. Can't really justify the upwards of $500 for a class when I can get all the equipment I need for less than that and teach myself basic YouTube. Yeah, that is true to a certain extent, Liam. While I would say yes, you could buy all of the gear and teach yourself off YouTube, there is a significant difference between learning yourself off YouTube and going down and actually doing a class with someone. If I had a choice between buying $500 worth of gear and doing a $500 class with Bruce Barnett, that $500 worth of gear is going to have to wait. Because at the end of the day, the experience would be so much more important. Because as I've tried to point out in a lot of my videos and stuff like that, it's not so much the tools that you've got, it's the talent, it's the skill, it's the craftsmanship that you've got. The more skill you have, the less tools you need. If you look back into history, like this is a 14th century dagger, the guys didn't have power hammers, they didn't have, you know, belt grinders, they might have had a grindstone if they were lucky. But otherwise, they were relying on hand files and hard work. And so therefore, their tooling was a lot more simple because, you know, they had to make all of their own tools. And so therefore, you've got to understand that there's a certain point where tooling becomes unimportant. You can have the best, most up-to-date, most, you know, kind of, you know, top of the line, top of the line equipment, but you're still not going to create anything of worth because it's, you know, the talent that creates the stuff, not the tools.
Skill.
It's the skill, yes, the skill, not talent. Tasting any new colours lately, purple or blue? No, I haven't tasted any colours today, thankfully. But, you know, the day is early. I mean, the day is young. The day is early? Okay, maybe I still do have a concussion. Alright. No, I'm just an idiot. It's fine. Welcome to the Sounds Bladesmith channel, where we support animal abuse. Hey!
She looks so amused. Get off.
Shadow. Stop being a dick. Hey? Come here. Don't hit your head.
Yeah, totally abused dog.
Totally abused. Yep. She's terrible. This is the most abused dog on the planet. Aren't you? She's so hard done by, you can tell. She's terrified of us. Big boof. The subs are increasing kind of fast. Are they? What are my subs looking like? I don't know. I can't see from where I am. Alright, go down. Is it updating? Doo-doo. Nope, not telling me. Shadow. You're a dick. Ah! Alright, out. Thank you.
437.
437? Kind of fast. Kinda. It comes in leaps and bounds. It's been great to see so many people getting interested in the channel and, you know, and joining in. And I really do consider everyone that joins my channel to be a member of the family.
Which is spooky because I don't know any of them.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know many of them either. No, it didn't. No, that hole was there before. This is one of my Ford shirts. That was an angle grinder that did that. Yeah, definitely so. Yes, definitely something you think about. At the end of the day,
You wouldn't want to lay much feather towards that.
there's only like a half centimeter of tip, like sitting over the board. It's not actually enough to kill me. Yeah, it'll just hurt. It's fine. Yeah.
No more hospital trips this week.
It's actually not that sharp. It's fine. Ish. Alright, anyway. No, the shirts the shirt was ripped before. Yes, the classes, definitely something to look at. The reason that I want to start offering classes, because I know that I myself would have taken the opportunity had I been offered it. I'm going to be doing really low cost classes purely to get people into it. It's not going to be anywhere near as expensive as, say, a 2-day class with Bruce Barnett would be, mainly because A, it's not going to be as in-depth of an experience. You're not going to walk away with as much. But B, it's also so that it's more approachable for people who are coming from a lower income background. Like, you know, not every person has $1,000 to dump on a blacksmithing class. So yeah, it's definitely worth looking at doing a class. Even if you only have the most basic of tools at home, it will improve your craftsmanship overall. And I mean, that's not to be said that you don't want to teach yourself. I mean, I taught myself. I've never done a blacksmithing class with anyone. So, I can't say from experience that you're better off, but I guarantee you're better off. Yeah, so now I just need a shout out from Alec. Yes, that would be awesome. I mean, he did his Arrowhead video the other day, and I was hoping that he was, there was going to be I watched this thing from this Australian dude who was a complete fucking idiot, but he made a good Arrowhead. But no, it's not going to happen. Alec is way out of my league as far as subscriber base is going. That's not what I said before I hit myself with a sledgehammer. I didn't say it wasn't going to kill me. I didn't say anything about me hitting myself. I said I was going to leave it to the professional, but then I didn't. Because I'm an idiot. I bring in people to swing a sledge for me, and then I go and swing the sledge myself. It's funny because I used to do all of my own striking, so yeah, I remember when I was on 70 subscribers. That was great. It's back in the old days. Just a small little community, and now look where we are.
It's like a whole 4 months ago.
Yeah, 100,000 people with us. Not. I'm looking forward to breaking 500 though, because I'm looking forward to the next giveaway. So I enjoy giving stuff away. It's terrible. I'm a terrible businessman. And my wife is nodding vigorously in the background. No, wait, I do this for money? Yeah, Liam, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, distances are something that I can't really deal with. Yeah, Victoria is not somewhere I go to, like, at all. I've never been to Victoria. But yeah, so I think there are normally hammer-ins and stuff like that around Victoria. I mean, New South Wales and Victoria is the homeland of most of the blacksmithing done in Australia. So Gamico and all that kind of stuff, they normally organise pretty big hammer-ins and stuff like that. I think there's a big one coming up next year, hosted by Corin Urquhart at Tarwa Valley Forge in New South Wales. That is definitely something I would want to go to. Like, I would desperately want to go, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to afford it. I am a very, very poor blacksmith. Yeah, literally bankrupt. Yeah, well, the big thing, Gardner Knives is not in Victoria. No, Gardner Knives is in South Australia. He's in the Barossa Valley in Seppeltsfield. Good old Baz. He's in wine country. He actually works out of the jam factory out there. Well, that's kind of why I said that's the arrow video, because he hasn't done arrowheads before, and I know that there are actually not that many arrow making videos on YouTube, purely because I looked a lot of them up before I did my arrow making video, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of information on it, so therefore one of the reasons I did an arrow making video is because I wanted to make arrowheads, and it was an uncommon video trope at the time. There is a chance that Alec watched my video, because as I said, there's very few videos out there of making arrowheads, so it's entirely possible that he did watch it, but whether or not I was an inspiration for what he did, probably not. I was just probably cementing the same lesson that had already been drummed into him a million times by every other video that he'd watched. I'm intent on getting this whole thing to 180 grit by the end of tonight. I will keep here until I'm finished.
Good thing I'm doing the school run then, huh?
Huh? You're doing the what?
Good thing I'm doing the school run.
Yes, very good idea. See, everybody, this is why you get yourself a wife, so they can take care of the kids. Except I take care of the kids every day. Kid. Anyway.
Wandon Blacksmithing Group in Yarra Valley, Victoria meet every Sunday.
Yarra Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Are you anywhere near the Yarra Valley, Liam?
Yeah, where's he at? I'll find something.
Yeah. Where are you at? Because my missus will find you something. She is really good at the Google foo. Trust me. I've looked for weeks for something, and then I've mentioned it to her, and she's like, oh, you mean this? Bitch. I'm allowed to swear on stream. It's 18 plus, isn't it? No, wait, Luke is not 18. Shit, sorry. I can't fucking swear in this stream. I'm sorry, Luca. I will get to 1 million one day. I wish.
Not if you keep saying fuck.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that I get to 1,000 one day. That would be nice. 1,000 would be nice.
1,000 this year would be cool.
1,000 this year. That would be awesome. Is that the symposium from the Facebook group? Yes, that is the symposium. Bladesmithing Symposium. For some reason, my name is brought up at some point. And when people were talking about sending people to the symposium, I was like, what the hell do you want me to do? Like, what can I teach that Steve Felicietti or, one of the other really, really, really talented guys can do? It's not money. I'm just an idiot with a YouTube channel. I suppose it depends on where you go to school, Luca. Year 11s, sure, they can be rough, but only in certain schools.
Says the guy that went to school in minutes.
Yeah, rough as, man. Rough as guts. We didn't wear sneakers every day. I mean, come on.
You may as well have been at private school.
This is true. Gippsland.
Gippsland?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Pretty close to Melbourne. He's at Scotch College. Fits of mirth here, Luca. I'm sorry. How many hours a day am I in the forge? It depends. It really does. Most of the time, I try and get at minimum 5 hours in the workshop, but it doesn't always work out that way. The issue is I'm working around being a stay-at-home dad and doing all the housework and all that kind of stuff as well. So basically, I get up, I do the school run, and then I come home, start working, that kind of stuff. And then I do school pickup, and basically after school pickup, I'm back to doing housework. So it was... Yeah, so anyway, yeah, it does depend on the day. Most of the time, it's about 5 hours, maybe a little less. Not as many as I'd like.
There's definitely something in Gippsland.
Yeah, no worries,
in
Luca.
Gippsland because they
I'll see you in a bit.
demonstrations.
Okay, so there is a forging group in Gippsland.
Because they have demonstrations at local events.
They do demonstrations at local events, which normally means that there's it's like a men's shed kind of thing normally. We've got some similar in Boyup Brook, Boyanup, Boddington, a lot of B's in this. And then we also have the Perth, the WA Blacksmiths Guild. But yeah, there's almost always a blacksmith guild somewhere nearby. Normally it's older guys, but not always. Like I said, I would have been really surprised if there wasn't one.
So Gypsum's has got a heritage park and there's an old blacksmith's place there.
Yep. I have a total of 7 likes so far. That's pretty good.
Okay. Hello, north of Mo in Gippsland.
Who it?
There is a guy that runs something called the Jip Group. And he also does 2-day blacksmithing classes, doing basic techniques such as splitting, punching holes, twisting molten metal, also stuff on how to make tools and tongs.
Fair enough. What was that again?
This guy is Raven Forge.
Raven Forge. There you go. Raven Forge. Liam, look up Raven Forge. Apparently he does 2-day blacksmithing classes. It sounds good.
They also do meetups.
They also do meetups. There you go. So if you look up Raven Forge, probably on Facebook would probably be the best place to start.
There's a heap online.
Yeah, and there's also a heap online apparently. Raven's Forge.
The guy's named Ray Gard, G-A-R-D.
Yeah, Raygard. G-A-R-D. There you go. Don't know him. Never met him. Don't know anything about what he does. But he is a local and he is in your area. So go and search him out. See, told you, she's really good at the she's really good at the Google food. You're very welcome, Liam. We're always into getting people into the craft, mate.
Website's got some awesome links for events around the area.
There you go.
And resources.
Further details. There are links on the website for Raven's Forge for local events.
Raven Forge, no S.
Raven Forge. There's links to events and also probably PDFs and stuff like that.
And you know what? Their basic course cost is really good. It's $375 for the 2 days.
I'd do that. 2-day course for $375. Done. Sign me up.
Seriously, that's a pretty awesome skill base. All the information's on the website.
Sweet.
And then he's got a whole heap of ongoing modules afterwards if you want to do it.
Cool. Sounds like he's the man to go to. So any of my friends in Gippsland or thereabouts, sounds like a plan to go there. Like I said, don't know him, don't know what he does, don't know how he does it. But if there is a local blacksmith or bladesmith in your area that is running classes, I would suggest you do one because it will be greatly valuable. The reason that I haven't done one is because I couldn't afford the only person that was doing classes here in Australia, in WA. There is only one man doing that, and that's Bruce Barnett. Now, his classes are well worth the money as far as I've seen. No worries, Liam. Glad we could help. I look forward to seeing what you come up with. You know, I look forward to seeing you start your YouTube channel. Try and drive me off the YouTubes. We'll have to duke it out. No, it's really great to see people getting into the craft, and yeah, if you can get into one of those classes, that sounds awesome. But yeah, so unfortunately,
the Australian Blacksmiths Association has a lot of meetups in Victoria that might be worth looking into as well for it.
There you go, the ABA, the Australian Blacksmiths Association, is also something worth looking into. And you know, I'm a member. Well, I'm a member. I'm a paying member of the AKG. I'm hoping to be a probationary member on Saturday. But yeah, there are organisations out there that can help you. It's a little washed up. What can you do? Yeah, so for anyone who's just joined, I don't think anyone has, but for anyone who's just joined, we were just talking about blacksmithing classes, and if you can do one, if there's one in your local area, please do. As much as you can learn online, and obviously I'm sitting here right now having taught myself completely from online sources and books, I can say that, you know, obviously it can be done, but I probably would have been where I am now 3 years ago if I'd done a class, to be honest. I would have made so much less mistakes having had someone actually show me and actually, you know, detail in person what I'm supposed to do. Because basically I had to try what I saw on TV or try and do what I saw on YouTube and then recreate it in the flesh, which was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I'm normally really good with my hands. I have a lot of practical experience in my background, so it certainly helps to have someone standing over your shoulder telling you what you're doing wrong. Yeah, wood turning's awesome, man. I love woodworking. If you've watched any of my videos, I'm not sure if you have, you'll know that I do like to work with my hands on wood, a lot of hand tool work, draw knives, spoke shaves, that kind of stuff. I really like getting back to basics when it comes to woodworking. But yeah, forging is just a natural kind of next step for a lot of woodworkers. Even one of my favorite woodworkers of all time, Paul Sellers, has done a bit of blacksmithing himself. So you know, it's definitely a cross-pollinating skill. One of my favorite things about blacksmithing is being able to make the tools that you then get to use in the wood shop. Okay, I'll be back in a second, guys. Okay. Very long knife. Am I allowed to have the last of the wine? Back again. Fortified with some Moscato. Oh. Well, that's one sheet down. One thing I will say is, for anyone getting into bladesmithing, is that when you're doing hand sanding, the lower grits are always the ones that take the most time. Going from 180 to 240 takes about twice the amount of time as it does from going from 240 to 400, and then so on and so forth. It is almost exponential. The lower grits is also a good time to refine your geometry. You might not think you're removing a lot of material with a 180 grit piece of sandpaper on steel, but you'll be actually surprised how much you can affect the overall geometry of steel with a little bit of sandpaper and hard work. So if you want to kind of create a convex or something like that, it's definitely worth the time to do it with the hand sanding, because this is the last opportunity you've got before you finish. It's funny, a dagger blade is really the turning point where you see what handedness you are. You can see directly juxtapositioned against one another your left and right-handed grinding skill. And I am definitely right-handed. My left-handed bevels are ugly. Keep trying to remind myself of Jerry Fisk's advice to always start with your weak hand and go to your strong to try and follow, because then you're more guaranteed to have an even grind than if you do strong hand first. But fail every time. I fail. Inching my way up the blade. I remember hand sanding my first blade to 1200 grit and then taking it to a buffer to make it mirror finished. I remember how much of a pain in that ass that was. Oh, got a comment on my Facebook page. That. Alright. Trying to respond to messages on my Facebook page whilst doing this as well, so sorry about that, guys. Oh, bugger. You know what I just realised? I'm going to have to, when I finish the stream, I'm going to have to upload today's video. Today's video might be a little bit late today. I'm still going to edit it. Sitting on a computer waiting to be edited. Might just do one side of this knife and then I'll go do the video editing and all that kind of stuff. Because otherwise I'm going to be here until 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't particularly want to be here until 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure my wife doesn't want me here until 2 o'clock in the morning either. And I've got to keep the boss happy. Happy wife, happy life. So they tell me. Need to take a note out of Alex Steele's book, get myself an intern. So I can run the camera and do all the hand sanding for me. Liam, I'm not sure if you're still watching. Are you coming to the Sydney Knife Show? Or is anyone who's watching coming to the Sydney Knife Show? Trying to answer comments. Right. No. Can't do that. That's really annoying. It's probably the most annoying thing about having stitches in my forehead. Yeah, well, I'm with you, man. I wasn't going to be going until I managed to get an invite from Jake Mantell at Five Pants Fabrication. He's asked me to help him out. I'm going to be at the Five Pants Fabrication table, doing just handshaking, glad handing, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that's an awesome opportunity, and I'm really super thankful to Jake and Jody, his wife, who they just welcomed a new little person into the world. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be next weekend. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys like Steve Felicietti, Mert Tansu, all those guys that are going to be there, they're all super talented. And I'm really looking forward to meeting them finally. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Corrin's greatsword, the claymore he got off Paul. That looks friggin' wicked. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Looks like a beast. Whew. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I love the engraving. It's very akin to a lot of what I've seen out of the ADS as well. And Corrin's barrel knife actually looks really cool too. Ugh. Caps lock. Ugh. Someone help. Ugh. Gotta take care of the customers. They kind of pay the bills. Well, they don't kind of pay the bills, they do pay the bills. It's funny, I remember sitting there thinking, I'm never going to hand sand Soup 9 large knives again. Here I am. I knew it was going to be a lie. Just keep on telling myself, it could be worse. It could be stainless. I have to admit, it's a really nice feeling when you get through the grinder marks and you get down to the, you finally get to a point where you're completely hand sanded finish, even if it's a rough crosswise finish. It's really nice to see the blade coming out of its kind of industrial kind of stage and into its handmade stage. I like that juxtaposition. I enjoy handcrafted items. So much more likely to buy something handcrafted than I am to buy something machine made. And while obviously I can't say that my knives are 100% handmade, there are a lot of people who would call foul because I call my knives handmade. But at the end of the day, they're hand finished. They're, I hand forge. There are no power tools involved in my forging. Not at this point. And they're hand finished. So I'm very rarely, I never don't have my hands on the work. It's never set up in a CNC machine or anything like that. And while I understand the value of a CNC machine, and while I am not degrading those people who use CNC machines to create knives, because they make some awesome work as well. Aaron Goff, for instance, makes an amazing hunting knife that he uses precision CNC machining to do. I just don't find that there's as much soul in a machine-made product. It's probably vastly superior in terms of geometry and ergonomics and overall aesthetic, maybe to a certain extent for some people. But to me, I prefer something that's handcrafted, even with all its flaws, purely for the added benefit of knowing that someone's blood, sweat, and tears has gone into creating it. The story that it carries with it is what keeps me going. So I'm a big fan of Murray Carter, who's, for those people who don't know, is a 17th generation Yoshimoto bladesmith. Originally born in Canada, now lives in Oregon. And he's a fantastic smith. He's an ABS master smith. And he's also a very spiritual guy. Very, he believes in God and all that kind of stuff. But he always said that he never sells a finished knife. There's no such thing as a finished knife that comes out of his workshop. He sells the canvas that someone writes their story on. And, as much as that sounds like kind of spiritual frou-frou, I really liked the concept of the idea, especially with high carbon steel knives, that you're selling a canvas, you're selling a blank book. You're giving someone ability to create their own story in the patina that they put on the steel. Yeah, no worries, Liam. You have a good one, mate. Glad we could help. Have a good night. I mean, I have stainless knives. I have stainless kitchen knives. I even have stainless pocket knives. This is one of my pocket knives. Of course, I didn't purchase this one. This one was given to me by a friend of mine. But I do use stainless knives, but very rarely. And one of the reasons that I very rarely use stainless is because there's no story in it. There's no, there's no age to it. It's an ageless thing. And while that's positive in many ways, it's also a negative. I hate to, kind of bring it back to the Japanese again. Don't want to sound like a weeaboo or anything like that, but there's also a great deal of value in the idea of all things passing, all things moving on in life, all things breaking down. Like, the thing is, at the end of the day, life is life and it ends. And that is true of all things. That is true of humans, that is true of animals, that is true of the work that we do. All things will eventually pass on, be lost to the annals of history. But I like that a carbon steel blade, a well cared for carbon steel blade, will age with you. Will kind of carry your story, and it'll outlive you. If a high carbon steel blade is well cared for, is kept, relatively clean and oiled regularly, it will outlive you, well outlive you. You'll be well into your grave by the time that a high carbon steel runs out of its usefulness, even one that is regularly used. It may outlive you by several generations. Your grandchildren's children's children may still be carrying it. All those years down the line. But the thing is, at the end of the day, all things being equal, have a story to tell. And I prefer the story to be written on the face of the thing. It's getting awfully philosophical in my tiredness. I apologize for rambling. Now I have two viewers, and I think I know who one of them is. I'm not going to say it just in case I turn out to be wrong. Getting there. Almost finished this bevel. Look at it this way, any work I get done now, I don't have to do tomorrow. please feel free to shout out, guys, if you've got anything to ask. This is a Q&A after all. Can't be all that entertaining watching me scrape some steel. When handsanding, never fall into the trap of thinking I'll get it with the next grit. I know that I was a victim to that a couple of times, where I thought, oh, it's so faint, I'll get it with the next grit. When I go up a grit, that'll take that out too. It's never true. It will stay there forever until you go back to that original grit. And the issue with that is that you might go all the way through from 180, 240, 400, 600, 800, 1200, and it'll still be there. And you'll think, surely it should have been removed back at the 400 at least. Though it won't have been. And then you'll have to go all the way back to 180 to remove that scratch. And then go all the way back up before you'll have your final finished piece. So just do it right the first time. Save yourself a lot of heartache. Almost there. Only got 4 or 5 inches to go. Of this side, in this grid. Well, this is going well so far. Got black fingers. It's always a good sign when you're hand sanding. All that steel dust. Welcome to another Handsanding Shenanigans stream. Please feel free to ask any questions if you have any. And don't forget to hit that like button. You know, we're up to 9 likes so far. I'm actually pretty impressed. This is going really well. Suppose I should go full YouTuber and go, smash that like button! In the face! Like a boss! Let me know if you know who that is. Acting like a prat. Anyway. God, I must be tired. Whew. Early days yet. Early days yet. Ah. Just one right there. The bane of a bladesmith's existence is the one grinder scratch you can't get out. As this tip gets really thin. So much work. He's almost gone. Almost. that's it. All trace of him is gone. Woo! There we go. The problem with hand sanding with water is that you tend to get a pool of water underneath the blade, which means that you normally end up getting rust on your blade, which is not conducive to a good blade. So there we go. So that is a 180 grit hand sanded finish. That is a 120 grit grinder finish. You can see that the ridge is slightly washed out from the hand sanding, but the overall sheen is better than on the 120. It's hard to pick up in this quality of camera, but yeah, there is a definite and recognizable difference between the hand sanded side and the grinder side. The grinder side almost looks shinier from the camera. That's a little annoying, to be honest. But yeah, that's the hand sanded side. That's the grinder side. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's a good hour and a bit's work to get that side hand sanded. Now I've got to do the same to that side and spend another couple hours at it. But first I have to upload my day 5 video. Is there already rust showing on that tip? There is too. There you go. Anyway guys, thanks for sticking with me. I'm not sure who the 2 viewers who are still on are. But thank you very much for sticking with me if you've been here the whole time. I have a sneaking suspicion that you have been here the whole time. Tomorrow's video will be up in maybe an hour. And I might even come back for a live stream after that, depending on how long it takes me. Hey Anthony, how you doing, man? Yeah, so that's the finished hand sanded side and the ground side that I've still got to do. Massive pain. But anyway, I'm going to sign off for now because I've got to upload today's video, which will be fitting the handle, or starting to fit the guards for this knife, which are sitting over here. I'll give you a sneak preview of what this blade's going to look like with the guards fitted. This isn't fully fitted yet, but you'll get an idea. So there you go. Yeah, you go back to the end, mate. That's the guards. Obviously, they're not cut out yet, they're not roughed in yet, but that's basically the idea. They're going to be much shorter here, and this is going to be a much wider handle when it's done, but that is today's video, is me fitting these two, forging and fitting. So yeah, that's today's video, I should say. Anyway, I might come back for another live stream in a bit if I get this video edited quickly. Otherwise, I'm probably going to end up going to bed. In which case, good night, guys. Thank you very much for sticking with me. And I will see you in the video in like an hour. And also, I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, guys. Have a good night.